Welcome to the United Way Rental Assistance Database. I'll be showing you how to use this database to create client records and edit those records, as well as create reports from the records that are in the database. So to access the database, go to http://unitedway.cloudapp.net, and that will take you here to the welcome screen. Just type in your login name and your password and sign in. We do ask that you please do not share your sign-in information with anyone, as that's how we keep track of who edits this database, and that's also how we keep our database secure. You'll be taken to this screen where you have your options of clients and reports. If you're solely a user of this database, you'll only see clients and reports. Agency maintenance, drop-down lists, and user maintenance will not be accessible to you. If you're an administrator of this database, then you will see all 5. So click on Clients, and that will take you here to our client list. Now let's say that you have sat down with a new client. Their name is John Doe, and you want to make sure that John Doe doesn't already have a client record in this database. The first thing you would do is search for him. Type in his name, press search or return, and the only thing that I come up with is Jessica Doe. So this doesn't look like John Doe. I'll ask John, are you married to someone named Jessica? He says no. Her social security number, or his wife's name is Julie Doe, and her social security number does not end in 2364, so this is clearly not the same Doe family. So that means it's safe for me to go ahead and create a new client record. To do that, just click on Add New Client, and you'll be taken here to the client information screen. Here you can type in all of the pertinent information that you have on John, and you can save it. The information that you absolutely need to fill in to save this record would be the things that are asterisked. So I'm going to make sure that I fill in all of these asterisked areas. And don't forget down here to fill in the details as well. And see how this little arrow popped up? That means that I forgot to put in his family size. So I'm just going to put a 0. He doesn't have any kids in the 0 to 17 range. There's no one in his home in the 18 to 60 range, and no one 61 plus. We're just going to say that John is actually single. He doesn't have a co-applicant. So I can click the Save Client button, and the database will tell me that my record has been saved, so I can click OK. Now let's say I'm sitting down with John and he tells me that his car broke down. It was a transmission problem. He actually had to replace the whole transmission. It cost him $1,500, and that's also how much his rent costs on his apartment. So now this month he needs $1,500 in order to pay his rent. What I would do is go to the Assistance tab and click on that, and I can add new assistance. So click here on Add New Assistance, and here is the assistance detail screen. I can put all of John's information in here, his address, his landlord information, etc., and this will be the record that I keep of his first time in my office asking me for help. So I'm going to put in his information. His landlord's name is Jason Bourne, and his rent is $1,500. That's required by the 30th of September, and he's actually requesting the full $1,500. The assistance type is a rental. And I'm going to put his new status as pending, since we haven't discussed yet if we can actually fund John's request. So please note, you can do monthly rent or mortgage cost. In John's case, he's a renter, this isn't his actual mortgage, so I'm just going to put in his monthly rent and leave the mortgage cost blank. Then I come down here and click the Save button. And here I have my new assistance record for John. So it shows me his address. He's a renter. His rent is $1,500. He's requesting $1,500, and right now the status is pending. Now let's say that I would like to add a note to myself saying that John is going to come back in on Monday morning. He's going to bring me his receipt from the mechanic. I can just go over here to the Communications and Notes tab, click on that, and I can add a new note to myself that will be saved in the database. So I'm going to put, John is coming Monday. He'll bring his receipt. And I can click Save. And here we have my note to myself. And it has my name right here saying that I'm the one who added it. Now let's say that I would actually like to add a note that will be emailed to one of my colleagues. I can just put in their information, put in their email address, put in the note, and I'll say, John's transmission broke. He's requesting $1,500. When I press the Send button, this note will be saved to the database, and it will also send an email to that user, and I should get a little pop-up that says my email has been sent successfully. So I can click OK, and I'm finished with that. Now let's say John's left. I can just close my client record. I'm all finished now. And I'll clear my search. And now I'm back to my client screen. Now let's say it's been a few days. John's request has actually been approved. But we're going to do two different checks, one from EFSP and one from another funding source. And they're going to be from two different charities. It's going to be Lutheran Social Services and Catholic Charities. I'm going to go back into John's record, just double click on it. Here I have his record. If the database is too large and you can't find his record on the first page, all you have to do is search for it again. And here I have John Doe. Click on that. Now let's add a payment. If you go over here to payment history, you'll see that we don't have any payments yet because he hasn't received any checks. So let's go over here to assistance and we'll add a new assistance. We're not going to touch this first assistance record because this is his request. Once we get approval for checks, you add a new assistance for that. So let's put in his information again. Being careful to add everything properly. Again, he's requesting the full amount. It's a rental, and his new status is approved. Now, let's add a payment. You just go down here, click the Add Payment button. The first payment I'm going to add is Catholic Charities. They're going to use EFSP, and they've said that they can give him $1,000. It's going to be a check. Check number is 123, and they're actually going to mail it on the 17th. And the check will be dated the 14th. When I click the Save button, my check will pop up right here. Now let's say I already know that Lutheran Social Services will be providing the other $500. So in the same assistance record, I can actually add Lutheran Social Services, say they're going to provide another funding source. It's going to be $500. Again, it's going to be a check. The number is 456, and they'll be mailing it on the 17th as well. and their check's going to be dated the 13th. When I click the Save button, that will be saved right here as well. So I'll click Save here, and here is my new assistance record, which actually details or tallies both of my checks. So I had a check for $1,000 and a check for $500, and it says that he requested $1,500 and was paid $1,500. I can open that up again, and here I see my two checks, $1,000 and $500, and clearly they've been tallied together to get this $1,500 of approved checks. Okay, so let's say that you don't actually know on this particular day that John is going to be funded by both Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services. You only have the check on your desk from Catholic Charities. What you can do in that case is just add a new assistance record and just put in that Catholic Charities check. You can go back at a later date and add in the rest of the funding, just add another new assistance record, and then you would have a new record detailing that check. When you come over here to payment history, you'll see all of your checks outlined very clearly. So now that John has been fully funded, he has his $1,500, we're finished with this record, and we can just go back to search, and we're done. Now let's say that you'd like to create a report based on EFSP funding for the year. Click over here on the Report tab, and you're brought here. You can actually choose any agency or combination thereof and funding source and your reporting dates. So let's say that I'm interested in looking at Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services. I would like to see the EFSP funding, and I'm going to do that for January through October of this year. I just put in my selections, press Run Report, and I will now have an Excel spreadsheet that details all of the funding from Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services from the EFSP funding source from January through October. What I can do with that Excel spreadsheet is I can filter it, I can look at it, I can edit it, sum the totals. I can do whatever I need to do with that information. It's all very easily and clearly put into an Excel spreadsheet for me. So let's go take a look at that Excel spreadsheet. So here we have the Excel spreadsheet that was generated. You'll see that the agencies are Lutheran Social Services and Catholic Charities. Funding source is EFSP. And here's all of the client information: their first name, last name, and gender. Co-applicant information, but these particular clients did not have any co-applicants. Family size, female or male head of household. Here are the addresses, assistance types, landlord. If you get a field in required by that looks like this, all you have to do is change the output to date, and that should fix it. The amount that they needed, amount paid, payment month and payment date, and their check number. Now let's say that you wanted to tally how much was paid in EFSP funding for the year. Just click over here, and you can use the auto sum function to sum and total, and you'd get $5,500 as your total for this year. So it's very straightforward. You can use this Excel spreadsheet to do anything that you need to with this information.